Once they move in,
Cool. My name is Nicholson. I'm part of Citizen Action, and we are here to welcome the New York Giants players, and we're also here to talk about bill reform. A lot of you guys might not know, or probably do know, Binghamton or Broome County has one of the highest incarceration rates in New York State, and we feel like there's something that should be done about that. So with the help of so many other organizations, Citizen Action, Broome, Tioga, NAACP, Just, Citizen Action, Quad, and our special, hold up, I forgot True Farm, can't forget them. And our special guests, the New York Giants players, Thomas and Antoine Belthea. We'll just like to welcome him, or them, to Binghamton, Broome County. I'm sorry guys, I'm a little nervous. But yeah, listen, that's basically what we're here to talk about, and we hope that we can inform you guys and where you guys can take action, because it takes a community to raise our youth, and this is something that's really affecting our future for everybody. It doesn't matter what your color your skin is, as long as you're in a bad situation or you make a mistake, you know, you're gonna fall into a situation where, you know, bill reform will affect you in some type of way. So, give me 1 second. And he's from the New York Giants, so give a round of applause.
Thank y'all for having us. We actually just, you weren't the only one that's coming there, so we're going to come up here and go together. But again, Mike Thomas, safety for the New York Giants, and you know, we both are coming up here because we got a passion for this, and you know, when you have a voice, you have a platform, and you can use that to try to make real change. I mean, that's something that I'm not only passionate about, but I feel like it's almost an obligation for me. See what's been going on from not only the community that I've come from and I live. You know, I saw my family affected by, you know, the effects of going to jail and not being able to be home with your family. I see that throughout my community. I see it, you know, even as an NFL player, and it's like, okay, I want to do something, and stop just saying I want to do something. I actually just wanted to get involved and just got involved, and just started going to the town halls like this, and you know, just using my voice as a platform, trying to change laws, trying to go to Congress and intern and do whatever I can to try to make these things happen. And you know, I'm letting Antoine talk. I feel like we're talking a little too long, but yeah, happy to be here and want to be involved in this engaging conversation.
Antoine Belthea, one of the newest members of the New York Giants. I play safety. But just to piggyback on what Michael said, very excited to be here, and I appreciate you guys welcoming us into your home. And again, just to piggyback on what he said, I'm very passionate about these causes. You know, growing up in inner city of Newport News, Virginia, just like Mike said, seeing friends, family members impacted, being in the system, and coming out of the system and struggling, trying to get back on their feet. So these are the type of situations, these are the type of environments that we like to come in. You know, one, to gain knowledge, definitely gain knowledge, but then also trying to figure out a way, like you said, with the platform that we have, how can we help you guys? So that's why we're here. Again, thank you, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things I forgot to mention was both these gentlemen won the Man of the Year award, and that was something where the team basically both on that. Their team that they played for both on that, where they basically not only do they get acknowledgement for what they did on the field, but basically off the field. I'm a big NBA guy, so like NBA also does NBA Care, so I kind of get the idea of what they're doing. But that's something that we should take away from what they do. Now we got Chris Scott coming up to tell his personal story, and just basically how his situation was affected by what went down with him.
to talk and I don't have a lot of time, so I may talk a little bit fast, so bear with me. My story starts back when I was 16. I was arrested and sent to the Broome County jail. When I went to court for my arraignment, bail was set at $10,000. Now, for someone like me who comes from the inner city of Binghamton, in a impoverished neighborhood, that might as well have been $1 million, so I really had no chance to get out. And what that does, it really changes the trajectory of your life at that age, because instead of being able to come home and have the DA and my lawyer work with me saying, hey, you're free, you have these charges pending, get a job, graduate high school, and we'll work with you so that you don't get this extended prison time. What happened with me was I wasn't able to get out, I wasn't able to show that I could really change and do things differently, so I received a 6-year prison sentence. During that 6-year prison sentence, I was 17, so I'm in prison with people who've been in jail for a long time, who've been in and out of jail, so they kind of got the criminal lifestyle, you know, I wouldn't say massive, but they've been living it for a while, so here, this is what I'm learning from. I'm not learning from people that I should be learning from, nor am I learning things that I should be learning at that young of an age. I'm in there and I'm learning how to do criminal activity better, you know, and I say that with quotation marks, because there really is no way to do criminal activity better. So that in and of itself changed my whole life. I come home after 6 years. I got an altercation, spent 2 years in solitary confinement. At that, and when you're 17, you're in the shoe for that long, it really just wreaks havoc on your mental. And basically what it is when you're sent to jail at that young age, it's really an institution or a university for criminal activity. This is where you learn how to do more criminal activity. So what I'm saying is that jail is really not the answer. It's just not. You know, the answer is reform. How do we provide better education? How do we provide better opportunities for people, not just in the inner city, but for everyone? But when you're from the inner city, you need those opportunities so that you can do something better with your life. Because if I come out my door and I see dudes selling drugs here and there and this, that, then that's what I'm going to aspire to do, because I don't know anything else. And it didn't start when I was 17. I'm 11, 12 years old, and that's when I started doing the things that I saw. I want to emulate the people that I look up to, and unfortunately, the people I look up to are doing criminal activity because that's the neighborhood I'm from. So, in a nutshell, it's when you spend that much, and I ended up doing 6 years, and like I said, it changed the whole trajectory of my life, because that wasn't only what I did. I come home from that sentence, and then I catch another one, but eventually I catch a federal charge, and I spent 12 years of my life in prison. I'm 40 now, and I'm one of the lucky ones, because I had a good foundation to come home to, so I was able to extract myself from that. I was able to extract myself from that environment and really change my life around. But again, I'm one of the lucky ones. I have friends that have lost their life to violence. I have friends who are going 20 years in prison because of the choices that they made. And I don't put the blame on anybody else, because I think we all have free choice. But sometimes, when you lack opportunity, the roads that you can take are minimal. So I know there are people out there who will say, like, you make your own choice, you make your own bed, you have to lay in it. Yeah, that might be true, but like I said, if I only saw or only know one way, then that's my normal. So when someone says, well, you have to live a normal life, I think normal is relevant to where you come from, relevant to what you're used to. And if all you're used to is a certain lifestyle, then it's very hard to change. While you're in prison, it'd be one thing if you go to prison and, because you hear this rehabilitation, you go to jail, you got to be rehabilitated. That's great, that's fine. I would love to have that happen. In reality, that's not the case. You go to prison, you're sitting in prison, and you're just warehoused. You're warehoused with a whole bunch of other people, and they have these programs that aren't really conducive to change. Like, yeah, I can get a GED. Yeah, but once you get a GED, the only thing you do after that is get a job, making 12 cents an hour. 12 cents an hour. Come on, you're stripped of all your rights. You know, they don't even tell you that. See, I was under the impression that I couldn't vote, that I couldn't make change, that I couldn't even be a part of change. It was someone who told me, like, hey, you can vote, you just can't vote for probation. But once that is over, you can vote. And I was ecstatic. I was like, oh, I have an opportunity for my voice to be heard. And I want my voice to be heard, because I had the experience of living this life of criminal activity, and then, you know, having the wherewithal and the people behind me to have faith that I can do something different, to have done something different. You know, my life now is far different than it was. But again, I keep on going back to the fact that I'm one of the lucky ones, because I really am. And I think there's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people who just aren't as lucky as I was. So, I mean, that's my story.
it was something I've never experienced. I was scared to death because I used to see on TV, and that's how it was when I walked through there. And I knew I had to either get into warrior status and, you know, protect myself and try to get home to my family. And at that point, I was like, you know what, I can't do this no more. I can't do this no more. So, luckily, I went to the shop program, got high and tight, and if anybody know about the shop program, you know, they program you, you know, and it helped me, you know, it helped me. And I came home, tried to find a job. It was hard. So I said, you know what? Let me go back and get my GED. Let me do something just so I ain't trying to, you know, go back to what I knew. Because what I knew was the, you know, hustle, sell drugs, but I know selling drugs was gonna lead me back to getting high. And that's not what I wanted anymore, you know. And got my GED and happened to get offered a job from this beautiful lady back here, Pastor Kim. So she said, you gotta get your GED first. So I got my GED and she gave me a job. They encouraged me to go back to college. I did that. Hopefully I can graduate next year. I've been in this job for 5 years, and I've met some of the best people in this church, in this congregation, and it made me, you know, want to try to give back, you know, because I see the problem, I saw the problem, and I just didn't care. I didn't think nobody cared, you know. Black man here, whatever. He's gonna go back and do the same thing. And I'm not saying this to get no praise or nothing like that, you know, but it's time for all of us to wake up and see what's going on in Broome County and Broome County Jail. Do you see the numbers out there? You read down the billboards, they just arresting people and locking them up for nothing. People, almost everybody in here got somebody that's, you know, affected by the drug epidemic in this county. You know, people need help. They don't need jail or prison. You know, they need help out here. And that's my story.
That's easy for me to do. So my name is De'Ami Nicholson. Like I said before, just like these gentlemen, I did a little time at Broome County Jail. One of the worst experiences I ever had. We all make mistakes. I made a mistake and it put me in a bad situation. The lack of knowledge or the lack of support caused me to basically fall into the system and basically take the same type of ride they took throughout that time period. I was a student at Broome Community College. I kind of messed up my academic year because of being arrested. I lost my apartment, you know, I lost my job. Basically, the system basically took everything that I worked so hard to get so far in my life at that point in time when I got in trouble. Next, after this, I hope that, you know, everybody can basically put the time in and the energy necessary to kind of really just look into what's really going on and how this whole bail reform thing has become a systematic thing, a way to make money to a certain extent for certain people, and how it's just not humane because, you know, chilling in Broome County Jail for 2 weeks wasn't one of the greatest experiences. Just a little bit about it. They put you in solitary confinement for the first 5 days. Basically, you sit in a room by yourself. Then they put you in general population after that. And then that's basically you're dealing with people that probably committed crimes more extreme than yours. So it becomes a safety risk. And the food basically sucks. They got flies coming out the where you get your water from. You know, basically, the football players probably could attest to this too. You know, as men, we gotta eat on a consistent basis to keep our body weight up. They don't really do that for you. You know what I mean? So it's a really big problem. There's been a couple of deaths right up there at Broome County, and so it's really serious. So I'm gonna wrap it up with that. Next we got Isha, and she's just here to basically talk about all the stuff that's really going on.
You all have given a lot of thanks to Mike and Antoine to being here, and I'm going to echo those thanks. But I also want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here on Thursday night. Thank you. Such a round of applause for all of us for creating space for this conversation. Because as we hear the stories from Chris, from Eugene, from Diami, you get a sense of just how bad mass incarceration is. Across this country, we have 2.2 million people in jail or prison right now. Here in Broome County alone, we have about 600 people in jail tonight. And I want to point out something, which is the reason why we have justified incarceration in this way, the use of jail and prison, is because we have been told that it delivers public safety. It's the only way to keep us safe. And what each of us in this room know is that that's actually not true. There are ways for us to be safe, for our communities to be healthy, to thrive, to succeed, that don't rely on over-policing, that don't rely on jail, that don't rely on prison. And so these stories are so important for us to hear, to remind us that we have to find another way. And I'm really excited to share tonight, and my part of tonight's program is to tell you about some of the reforms that should give us a lot of hope, and what we need to do in the next several months here in Broome County, across New York State, to make sure the new reforms that just passed on April 1st, 2019, actually take hold in the ways that transform our criminal justice systems, that end our over-reliance on jail and on prison. And let me step back for a minute and tell you a little bit about myself and my organization, the Vera Institute of Justice. As Diami said, my name is Insha Rahman. I run our work in New York State to push forward on ending mass incarceration, to really decarcerate, meaning to think about what else can we do in our communities, what else can we invest in, from housing to treatment to good education to the services that people need to be healthy and well, and to not just rely on incarceration. So decarceration is really what we are hoping to do, and we believe that we can do that in ways that promote public safety and promote our wellness. And so in New York State, we're actually at a remarkable moment of hope and opportunity. Right now we have about 25,000 people in jail across New York State. We have about 47,000 people in our state prisons, and we know that that is too many people. And so our legislators passed a new reform to bail, to speedy trial, and to discovery. And I'll explain what each of those are in a minute. And what these reforms give us is a chance to really reimagine our justice system so that we don't have 25,000 New Yorkers in jail on any given day, so that we don't have 47,000 New Yorkers in prison on any given day. Imagine this, is we incarcerate here in New York State at a rate that is many, many times, say, in Germany. And the truth is Germany has more public safety than we have here. So we know this. Whenever anybody says to us, but we have to have our jails, we have to have our prisons, you can actually point to other places, like Germany, like even our neighbors in New Jersey who passed bail reform 2 years ago to say, actually you can have fewer people in jail, fewer people in prison, and actually have safer communities. So here's what the new reforms are. They do 4 really important things when it comes to bail. And those 4 things are, for one, police, when they arrest people on low-level offenses, on certain misdemeanors and very low-level felonies, they're going to have to release those people in what are called appearance tickets. And so what that means is that instead of being arrested and then being booked into the jail or being taken straight to arraignments, you'll actually be let go from the station or from the street and able to come back to court several days later. And you can imagine for people that that really makes a huge difference. It means you don't get stuck in jail where you lose your job, you don't know who's taking care of your kids, you're not sort of pulled out of that sort of your life suddenly and unable to sort of keep, doing the things that you need to do to get by. So that's one really important change that is huge and really important. So I urge you all, come January sure that the police here in Broome County are enforcing that part of the law. The second is that the new law basically takes away both money bail and jail as an option for most misdemeanors, most nonviolent felonies, and even a handful of violent felony offenses. If you want to talk more about what the specifics are, come find me after. I'm more than happy to explain them in detail. But so what that means is that judges now can't set bail. They can't set the $10,000 bail that was set in your case. Instead, what they have to do is they have to release you, but what they can't do is the third thing, which is they can mandate certain conditions, certain supports that you need in order to get back to court. That can be anything from just a court reminder that you come to your court date, or it could be something more like suggesting that you, engage in treatments and services and programming. But that's the extent of what judges are allowed to do. They're not allowed to rely on money bail. They have to actually use these alternatives. And then the fourth thing is that if money bail is still set and it still is allowed to be used on certain violent felony offenses, certain domestic violence related offenses, if judges are going to set money bail, they have to consider what you can afford, your ability to pay, and they have to use less sort of onerous forms of bail, not sort of just straight up cash or insurance company bail bond, which is when you have to go to a bail bondsman, but they're not going to be required to give you the option of what's called a partially secured bond, where you actually put up no more than 10% of the bail amount with the court, and so long as you come back to court, you get that money back at the end of the case. Or they're going to have to set what's called an unsecured bond, which means even if bail is set, you actually don't pay anything up front, but you just have to come back to court, and only if you don't, then you're responsible for the full amount. So you can understand how, taken all together, that's really going to dramatically change what happens to a person at the moment of arrest, what happens to a person going through the system. And as Chris mentioned, not having bail meant it changed the trajectory of his case, right? It was the reason why you felt like you have to take a plea deal, you have no other options. And so taking out the sort of coercive nature of bail will make a huge, huge difference to people at the moment of arrest. The two other big reforms that got passed on April 1st, one is to what's called speedy trial. So that means that you have to bring your case to court and to an end, either to trial or to resolving it in some other way, in a reasonable amount of time. What that looks like is about 90 days for a misdemeanor charge and 180 days, which is 6 months for a felony charge. And as many of you know, people sometimes languish in jail pre-trial for months, even years, and that can no longer happen with this new law. Then finally, the third big reform is to discovery. And discovery is the evidence in a case. It's what witnesses or a victim has said about what happened. It's evidence such as like surveillance video or a 911 call. It might even be evidence that actually exculpates you, meaning it shows that you're not guilty of what you're accused of. And in New York, before the discovery law was passed, it basically meant that prosecutors could hold on to that evidence and not turn it over to you until right at the end of your case, right before you went to trial. They didn't have to give it to you before you took a plea deal. And so can you imagine making one of the most important decisions in your life about your case without knowing any of the evidence against you? That just seems so fundamentally unfair. And so this law changes that so that immediately after an arrest, 15 days after, the prosecutor actually has to give over the evidence, the discovery in your case. And so what do we think the impact of this will be? Well, remember that 25,000 number that I said of people in jail in New York State? About 8,000 is here in New York City, or is in New York City, and the rest is across the rest of the state. What we think these reforms will do will result in almost half as many people in jail on any given day, and that is tremendous. And so it's on all of us to make sure these laws are actually implemented. We have lots of ideas. I've talked to many of you in this room about what exactly we can do. And so we're really excited for this moment for Broome County to sort of push forward and make sure these reforms actually happen. Thank you so much.
If anyone have any questions that they would like to direct?
They're going to start out with questions and everybody can ask questions.
Okay, so basically, they're gonna start off with questions, and then, you guys can interact with them. So,
Yeah, I mean, if anybody else had a question first, we could ask, but. First off, all of y'all had amazing stories. I was gonna ask a question about, you said you needed help, but there weren't programs available at the time for what you were seeking. Have there ever been any programs implemented since then? Yes. Okay, cool.
We did get into treatment now. They got more inpatient facilities. So we're doing a little bit better, than what it was 10 years ago when I was running around here, So, yeah.
But yeah, that's
This is like really just a overall question, like from not being from here or being around the city. I know where like I'm from, it's a multitude of things that we would like to see that the city would do as far as city council, judges and things of that nature. Here in the city, what is it that you think you guys would like to see as far as your local government that can help change some of the things that are happening in the city? That's for anybody to answer.
I don't think I need a mic.
okay.
One thing I would say would be like, because it's really hard for a lot of people to get jobs out here after they did some times in jail. And a lot of the times the jobs that they do get would be jobs like at a factory. And the factories out here is located like really far away. So
We need you to speak into the mic so that we can put it up on the live stream. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people can't find jobs out here that come home from incarceration, and then once they do find a job, if it's through like a temp agency or something, these factories are located way out where there's not even public transportation. So they have to rely on someone to carpool them there, or maybe paying for a cab. So I feel like that's really unfair, and if they are working with a program, they should probably have like a system where maybe the first month that you're working, we could provide transportation, and then after that, you could provide it for yourself, and that would give time for that person maybe to work on transportation or get enough money to like maybe purchase a car or something, like that would help. And also, there's not a lot of youth programs here. They have some free programs through the parks, but a lot of kids out here can't really access those programs. And it's really difficult to keep kids out of trouble if there's not any programs for them to like keep themselves busy. I know they were saying that the Boys and Girls Club would be open to 11 p.m., like later for the teens to actually go there, but how are they going to get there? There's only one Boys and Girls Club, and there's no public transportation that would help kind of bus them there. So we need something like that to kind of help get these youth to these youth programs if they're going to implement a time. And that's it.
Cincinnati, with the progressive leaders of tomorrow, to change the leadership in this area. A person like Sheriff Harder should never have been elected sheriff. We need new people in power, and people like Aviva here, and others that have been here. They are our future, and hope to God they will make changes in the leadership, changes in the way we run our jails, changes in the way we run our government. That's the thing we need to do. So every one of us needs to be
perspective from three different perspectives, if that makes any sense to you guys. No, it's not.
I felt that sometimes they were like very different, just like depending on like who the individual was or what the case was, and a lot of times, a lot of the sentences were different for like similar crimes that were committed. For example, a drug case, many drug cases I witnessed, like depending on like the race of someone or the gender, like a lot of the sentences were different and not consistent through the whole process.
Just really surprised on how the criminals or the defendants were treated in the courtroom, kind of just pushed to the side. They were kind of not even respected as humans in some cases, I thought.
I was pretty shocked when I first stepped into the courtroom. I'd never been in a courtroom before, and I'd never actually seen people like prisoner before. So when they had them come in, shackles on their ankles and their hands, it was really emotional for me actually. I didn't know that it was going to be like that at all. And I thought that the judges were a little bit harsh sometimes. The way that they spoke to the prisoners, the guards were really harsh with them a lot of times, and I didn't expect that at all. When the verdict came out, when they were being put into prison for the first time, the guards were very rough with them, taking off bracelets and watches and stuff and pushing them into the next room.
I would say overall my experience in the courtroom was kind of eye-opening, just seeing the disparities of minority races that were present at the time of the sentencing. I went in thinking it was going to be more of like a traffic court, so I thought I was going to see more people and more folks coming in. But my first day I went in, sat there, and you saw fellas coming in orange jumpsuits with their wrists and ankles shackled. So I was kind of happening to see these people that are actually on the verge of getting long sentences and going to jail for a while.
In what I witnessed, a lot of the defense attorneys seemed unorganized, actually. There was a lot of instances where they had to make new court dates because defense attorneys were not prepared, because they didn't have the right paperwork, logistical things like that, and that actually really surprised me. Probably the most memorable moment was when one defendant was getting his court date postponed for the third time because his district attorney did not have the right paperwork again. So what was going through my head was that he had to spend yet another week in county jail, and it wasn't his fault.
Every time I was going into the court, I kind of felt sad, especially seeing the younger males in there. It was just kind of sad, and the looks on their faces were most of the time defeated looking, so.
I felt they were often rushed. Oftentimes, the judge would just push right through what he needed to say, get across the point, just so he's doing the legally right or correct thing. So I always felt like the defendants and the defense attorneys didn't really have time to argue or try to defend themselves as appropriately as possible.
It was really interesting to see, about what we learned about in class and see how that was really applied in the real world. Also see how things were run, how confusing it could be, how fast everything went, things like that.
Often it's sad and kind of depressed me, just because so many people are going away, who are going to be incarcerated for a couple of years, a good amount of years. So there's a lot of people, especially if you have family and friends that were sitting in the back of the court. They would also see their reactions and see how upset they were, and also the expressions on the people that are being incarcerated, their face too.
I think it was most interesting how the whole court viewed the people that were held in the jail and were wearing the uniforms, because it's kind of just like a separation of people. This is the public and these are the criminals, and it's kind of just fully divided. So yeah.
Sad. It was definitely not a good environment to walk into. People are being sentenced to years in prison, possibly, so not good.
So basically that film was done, basically it was a survey done over like a year. We just went in, kind of, you know, asked people what they thought about the system and is it really working and how does it really affect people in a real life scenario. Next we have Steve and Ashley. They'll come up and they'll just basically summarize the report and the data that they have collected over the last year of doing these court watches. And, you know, basically they'll put it in a perspective where some people might understand it a little better.
First off, I wanted to start by saying thank you for everyone who not only is attending the forum right now, but those who have helped us, whether it's the groups, individuals, who have really stuck to working with this program and sticking to our meetings and our court watch and really standing by all the other groups and the individuals affected by the system here in Broome County. It has been a crazy long year, and we have witnessed a lot of different things going on within the Broome County. Not only the court system, but also the jail right here in Broome County. So when we initially started the court watch, what had happened is we were looking at the statistics for the county. And Broome County had the highest incarceration rate. Well, surprise, surprise, we still did. So with that, we went into the courts and we had a large handful of volunteers actually help us out. So that was very awesome, you know. And it wasn't just the Binghamton students that I'd say around 50% of what we observed. As was the same number for people of color that we observed. So 50-50 from our observations. The first time that we did this, it was the same the second time that we continued the court watch. Now 50-50, you think about it for a minute, a lot of people who would be conservative or Republican would look at that and think, so what's the real issue? It's 50-50. Well, when you look at our county statistics on population, 89% of Broome County is white. 6% is black. Where is the justice in that? Within our county. And most of the charges that we did witness were drug charges. So we decided to go and observe drug court. You sit down in drug court, it is all white people. There was maybe one woman of color in drug court that we observed. But that was our observation, and we continue to work on. We finished the report, and I want to thank everybody involved so much. And I hope that we can make this change.
She comes up. Please, sorry,
My name was misspelled, that's why. Anyway, a huge concern about the jail is the number of deaths that have occurred. And you'll be hearing about those in a few minutes. But I want to talk about some of the other problems, and there are many of them in the Broome County Jail. One of the big ones is the medical issues. The private medical facility that is being used at the jail, CMC, was charged in 2014 with medical malfeasance and fined by the State Office of the Attorney General. The promised investigation never took place, and CMC was rehired by the jail. There is one doctor for over 400 inmates, and he comes to the jail 1 day a week for 8 hours only. Another problem is the fact that the nurses in the facility were told to falsify records claiming persons with serious injuries were treated, but they were not. And the nurses filed a lawsuit. We don't know yet where that stands. There's a denial of medicines prescribed when persons enter custody, and persons get the wrong doses for illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, and psychotropic needs, and that's prevalent. Inmates fear retribution if they file grievances or ask for medical help. Inmates with amputations return from the hospital with unhealed wounds and lack of aftercare. And the medical unit is used as a form of punishment, sadly enough. Being in the medical unit is worse than being in the SHU, or special housing unit, because there's no time out for recreation as there is in the special housing unit. They get an hour a day. They don't get that in the medical unit. They can't make phone calls, and they are very restricted. Some of the other issues are that inmates can no longer buy socks and underwear in the commissary, and they are given unclean underwear stained with urine and feces, which cause rashes and fungal infections and itching, terrible itching. Another complaint is that there's too little food, and what there is not nutritious. Food can be dirty, even though the vendor was recently changed. It's as bad as it's ever been. The last item is that there's a lot of harassment by the correctional officers, and there's one transgender male in the jail now, and he's in the female unit, even though he has a beard and is registered as male. He has a birth certificate that says that, and he's looking for that. But his transition isn't complete. And so the inmates and the corrections officers tease him. He's in bad shape psychologically, and it's really sad.
Assume it's a he. And is a founding member of Just and a unit from Southern Tier, and he has lived in Broome County for over 30 years and has taught at Binghamton University for the last 20 years. So if we can give a round of applause to the
Tony's a difficult act to follow, and I really do want to offer a little testimony and praise to Tony. She's been going into the Broome County Jail and talking to people and visiting them and advocating for them outside the jail for almost 25 years. And it's hard to underestimate the impact of that, because she's visiting people who are often in solitary, often people who don't have family here, people who don't have support, who don't have anyone to go to their PD or their doctor for them. Tony and the people that she's been training and led by the NAACP have really been dedicated for a lot of years. My charge was to talk about medical issues. I think Tony's actually taken a bunch of my key points. So that's a good thing, because as a teacher, you know, I can talk for an hour or two, so it's good that I cut things down. But there's a conclusion you should draw from what Tony is talking about. And these cases that continue and endure year after year, we have to reach a fairly simple conclusion. This is a systematic problem. It's not individual cases that we can resolve. Medicines and medical treatment in our jail have become coercive forms of punishment and control. The medical unit is a feared unit, as Tony said. You see it in the eyes when you visit someone, an elderly man who's got a very serious head infection, who but he will not get treatment and go to the medical unit because he knows that's going to mean that he'll be in solitary. His kids won't be able to visit him for most of the week, and he simply needs to really see his kids. So he stays untreated. You see it in cases Tony talked about, of the amputees, of the people with diabetes, the people in this room I know who have loved ones in there who have had heart attacks, who simply cannot get decent treatment. They are either untreated or underprescribed. For those who've got mental health issues, right, we've closed the local mental health center. We've made the jail into our local mental health treatment area. Right? That's a systematic decision. Right? And the county and city officials know this, we protested it, and they need to be thrown out of office, starting with Sheriff Harder. For people with substance use disorders, and I know Alexis is going to talk about this in a minute, but we have finally got medically assisted detox in the jail. That's a wonderful thing. It's a reform that we've argued for, but it's also got a predictable result because people will get short-term treatment in the jail, but the result when they come out is predictable when there's no long-term treatment. They recycle out of recovery back into problems and back into the jail. And they recycle out often into death. We've got a county jail that has a death rate 4 to 6 times the state and national average. Everybody knows this, right? We've talked to, in the last 5 years, all the county and city officials honestly about this. The county in 2014, just to take the last couple of years, as Tony pointed out, was investigated as a private medical provider that operates out of Pennsylvania across New York State, and the corporation was charged with malfeasance, fined, and it was supposed to be investigated by the county, never happened. State monitoring hasn't happened. In the same year, Alvin Rios' family won a lawsuit against the county and the private medical provider, validating their charge in court that their son, Alvin, had been left in a, quote, emergent, life-threatening status without appropriate medical attention, leading to his death. You know, this is just one of the many deaths in the last 10 years. In the same year, right, well, actually, no, it's a year later, in 2015, Saladin Martin, who was developmentally disabled, he was well-known, well-liked on the streets of Binghamton, pleaded with his family from the jail, quote, "The guards are going to kill me, you gotta get me out of here." He died shortly thereafter. His family's lawsuit continues. You continue the next year or two, there's a whole series of more deaths, there's a whole series of more protests, there's a whole series of grieving families here, across the state, downstate, up into Canada. A woman in Canada whose husband died there still doesn't know why he died 6 years ago. Still hasn't got his effects. In 2017, a lawsuit was filed against the county and the sheriff for the abuse of youth. And this took a long investigation by people in this room collecting information and giving it to Legal Services of Central New York. And Legal Services filed a suit arguing on behalf of youth in the jail. And if you read the testimony of the expert witnesses, it's absolutely chilling. Let me give you just one example of a 17-year-old youth with disabilities, a young black kid, who spent over 150 days in solitary, right? Who, doing the things that kids do, which is acting out, or calling up to the guards, or being fed food that he medically cannot eat, right, finds himself rushed by a restraint team, forced into a mechanical restraint chair, pepper sprayed while he's in the chair, then taken to the medical unit, our wonderful medical unit, while he's still in the chair, where a nurse poured some water on his face for a moment. They take him out of the medical unit, leave him in a medical cell, while he is still in his clothes and still in the restraint chair. That's what goes on in our jail. Hours later, he's told by the guards to strip his clothes, which he does. They take him away, and he's left naked in his cell for the next several days. This shouldn't go on, you know, under the most brutal regimes you can imagine. It goes on in Broome County. In 2018, last year, we have the nurse's case of falsifying records, and they're suing the jail. And the same last year, the state controller was forced to report that hundreds and hundreds of grievances, which are really difficult to get, actually, by the way, in the jail file, right? Hundreds and hundreds of them are simply ignored when they get sent up the line. This year, we had more protests erupt in response to the death of Rob Card, who, like Sal Barton in the moments for his death, reached out to his family, but would die in jail. It is a litany of callous medical abuse, murder, and death. And those are only the formal cases, the last 10, because a lot of death happens when people leave the jail, and I think Alexis will talk about the substance use cases, I imagine. But it happens to a lot of persons like the Khalif Browders of Broome County. And here I have to mention and recall Ty Tuminian, who was a deeply loved young local black activist, formerly incarcerated, whose strength led people in this room in rallies, whose writing inspired people about gentrification and inequality and racial profiling and policing in the city, and whose birthday is today, and who died by his own hand a little over a year ago, unable to overcome the terrors of being incarcerated, overparoled, overly racially profiled. He's not alone, right? It happens continuously. We simply don't know. The good news is, if you look at that list of years, is that in the last couple of years, there's been a major movement by all these groups in this room, Citizen Action, Just, Truth, Farm Plot, the NAACP, and others. We've had strong support from places, downstate, organizations like Vera, who come up and work with us. They've worked in surrounding counties like Portland. Binghamton has become a center of resistance to mass incarceration and mass policing. And that really is good news. We have a demonstration next week. It is next week, right? Yeah, next Thursday, the 23rd, outside the doctor's office, who treats people so wonderfully in the jail. As we move forward, right, and as this sort of swelling tide of resistance grows, new people rise to replace old guys like me. One of them comes out of Rob Card's death in January. Rob was a local activist, a carpenter, a family man, and was incarcerated for a minor offense. He has a wonderful family who have lit a torch trying to shed light on the conditions and institutions that led to his death. I actually should say they lit a torch to burn down those institutions because they got a damn fierce love for their brother. It's easy to mourn in private. It's difficult to reach out and speak in public to mobilize others. And this is what Rob Card's family, and particularly his sisters, Denise and Jackie, have done. They've got a remarkable courage and a remarkable standing that people in the community have seen in the last couple months. I'm proud to introduce Jackie.
So we got Jackie Wood coming up next. She's just going to speak about her experience with the Broome County jail system and how it affected her.
Okay, I actually just got a surprise. This is his son, Drew. If I start to stutter, please somebody yell at me. I'm very nervous and very angry. My brother was put on probation for a minor drug charge, level 7, and shoplifting. He was ordered to take drug tests 7 days a week. How is he supposed to keep a job that way? My brother had a life-threatening brain tumor. They violated probation because he was 2 minutes late for a drug test. Not 2 hours, 2 years, 2 minutes. He was put back in Broome County Jail. In 13 days, they never took him to any of his neurology appointments. Not one. They did not give him his medication, including his seizure medicine. Very quickly, he lost all feeling on his left side. He was paralyzed. Oh, he also had an abscess in his mouth that they did nothing for. He, that we know of, fell at least 3 times on his tumored head. No ambulance. Would you like your family member to fall repeatedly and nothing is done? That's not. He could no longer dress himself or any else that came in contact. Wouldn't you like to have somebody that you know for mad hours dressing you and cleaning you? Can you imagine the humiliation and the dignity and embarrassment that this man went through? Just think for 1 second how this man must have felt. It only took them 13 days to take his life. My sister gets a deputy showing up at her door saying, call these people. That's it. She said, what is this about? He said, call them, excuse my English, call the damn phone number, and walked away. We didn't have enough time to know he was even incarcerated. So she calls the number and hurries up and calls me, and we find out that my brother is in critical condition at UHS Wilson Hospital. So let me backtrack. He was illegally released to Wilson in a full seizure. They rushed him and his belongings into the ambulance because they knew they could not do anything else. Well, they could torture him some more, but that's another point. When he arrived at the hospital, it took them 6 minutes to stop the seizure. Now, you cannot tell me that he was given his seizure medicine. He never had one seizure while he was out. So we get to the hospital not expecting all this. We had no idea. Jail, of course, didn't contact us that our brother was dying inside. We get to the hospital and he is in a coma with a tube stuck down his throat. When you have the tube stuck down your throat, your tongue hangs out to the side. He looked like a dog. Now, there's a lot more, but I'm getting too emotional. I didn't mean to introduce you at the very beginning. This is my brother Rob. I take him to every lecture I go to, any events. Because this is who this is about. Not about me, not about his son, not about his family. This is about Rob. And I do not want another inmate or another family to go through this living hell. Sorry. The Broome County Jail and the medical unit that they spoke of took my brother and killed his brain. 6 other people he's living through because he was such a giving person. He donated all 6 of his organs. And this is the man they treated like this. A hero that saved 6 other lives. Me and Rob wish you a good night.
Thank you. Nice to see you all. Before I even start, and to make sure that I don't forget, I really want to thank our incredible team who's been working on all of these issues. Steve, Ashley, Mary Clark's incredible leadership in all of this work, and all of the organizations that have been involved. The work is really tireless, and I just so appreciate their work. Bill kind of gave you this teaser that I was going to talk about substance use, but that's not even my charge tonight. So I'm not going to talk about substance use disorders because Mary gave me a different task, and I know what Mary says. So I'm going to talk a little bit about solutions and solutions that we need in our community. But the first thing that I want to do, because who do we need to hear these solutions? You know, you alluded to it. What do our elected officials need to hear? They need to hear from us, right? They need to hear this information. So I would really like our Sheriff Carter to stand up. I'm sure he's here to hear this message tonight. Our county executive, Jason Gardner, would you please stand? Any of our county legislators? Surely one of you are here, right? Any of them? Public defender, we met with him recently. He knew about about this event, he must be here tonight, right? Head of probation, head of paroles, district attorney. We met with him a couple days ago. He seems so interested in seeing the Giants. Is he here tonight? No. No, they're not here. Now I want to ask another question. I can tell you, I'm a mother of 3 sons, 2 living. 2 of my 3 sons have been incarcerated. It's a little kind of high standard, high statistics there, right? I would like to know who in this room is impacted by our county's incarceration, our criminal justice system. Stand up. Have you been arrested? Have you been on probation? Have you been on parole? Have you been in jail? This is our community. Do you have a family member that's been incarcerated? Stand up. Stand up. Come on, stand up. This is our community. We are being impacted. And we need our elected officials to pay attention to all of the people who are standing in this room, all of our community that has been impacted by these issues. Thank you. You can sit down. I'm sorry for the harms that have been caused in this community. Like, I'm so sorry for it. I'm sorry that even as a white mother of 3 white sons, 2 of them being incarcerated, I know that we still got it better. And that's terrible. Like, that's freaking terrible. And I'm sorry, my mouth sometimes gets away. Okay, so I'm here to talk about solutions. One of the solutions is all of these organizations really raising hell in this community, and we do a great job of that. And we need to continue doing that. We also need to meet with these elected public officials, and we need to tell them what solutions they need to employ. And we've been doing that. They meet with us, they talk out of both sides of their mouth, they lie to our faces. Sometimes they sit there and nod and say, yes, we'll do what you said, and they walk away, and they do not do what we said. But we're going to keep talking. We're going to remind them of who they work for. Who do they work for? Us. That's right. That's who they work for. They work for us, and we're going to keep going back there until they wake up and realize they work for us. We also are going to institute something very important that I'm really excited about. We're going to institute an ombudsman program. We are going to have all of the issues that are being reported at the Broome County Jail reported to this ombudsman. And this ombudsman, to begin with, is going to be provided by our community organizations and funded by our community organizations to begin with. But before too long, the county better pony up the money and give that money to one of these organizations that's doing the work and pay for that person to be able to do it. We don't want this controlled by the government. We want this person working for the people directly, reporting to the people, and we want control over this, not our government, but they can sure pay for it. And when we put this person in place and we get all these reports of these issues happening in the jail, all of the issues are going to be sent to the county legislature, Jason Garner, the public defender, who claims he really does protect the people who are in our Broome County Jail. And no longer will they be able to say they're unaware of the issues happening in our jail. They're going to get every single report, and they will be held responsible. We're also going to continue to work on bail reform, and we're going to try to have all of the changes that Incha spoke about that are going to be happening in New York State. We want them sooner. Why wait? It needs to be done now. And we're working very hard on our district attorney to try to get him to stop prosecuting people for drug paraphernalia and small possession charges. This is a really difficult one, and we're working really hard to get him to stop. As an example, we just met with him the other day. He met with us for 2.5 hours. That seemed impressive, right? He seemed like he was committed to making change. So I thought, okay, I'll test empty with some residue on it. He didn't get jail time, that's nice. He's white, that's probably why. Do they want to give him 3 years probation for this? 3 years probation. You know how much that costs you as taxpayers to pay for this young man to be on 3 years of probation for an empty baggie and an empty syringe? Come on. So I thought, okay, maybe the DA is serious. Maybe he wants to change, create change. Contact him. How about you just drop these charges? How about that? The guy has since gone to detox and inpatient treatment. How about you just drop those charges? Nah, he don't want to do it. Not dropping the charges. So we're going to keep working on issues like that because it has to stop. And I really, we, our whole team, we really need you all to stand with us, be with us, attend meetings, attend rallies, attend the court watches, get involved. We can't get our elected officials to change their will until we show them. We're going to either vote them out, or we're going to remind them every single time they're not doing something that we need them to do. So we need you all to help us with that. Thank you very much.
One more time, a round of applause for that, because she brought everything. So we have a few more minutes. We're going to do a short Q&A, maybe 3 questions, and we're just going to open it up.
From everyone in the crowd, any questions out there for us, especially as the Giants organization, would love to hear from you. I want to say, first off, amazing stories from everyone. Jackie, you were very strong up there. That's inspiring you to get up here.
I forgot to mention that the jail, the probation, the drug test center all knew he had brain cancer.
And still did nothing about it. But and before I continue, before we open up or let AD speak, I see you got a question already. I mean, it's just.
I have a question. I just wanted to say something about all of this stuff that's going on.
Go ahead.
My wife had stood up and said that one of our sons are in jail.
Right.
Both of our, 2 of our sons, and I only have 2 sons, they're both in jail. And our first son, we tried getting him help, and they told us, well, your son has to be in jail in the system in order for us to help you. So we didn't really get any help, and then my son ended up getting in more trouble, and now he's in jail, he's actually in prison. That's my oldest son. And now my youngest son, which is, he has MRI, he's mildly retarded, he has a 4th grade education, and we have paperwork to show so. So he doesn't understand how to interact like an adult, but he's 18 years old and he's in the county jail. It took over 20 days for our son to call us on the phone because no one would show him how to use the system because he don't understand how to use it. I put money in his account for him to get food and stuff like that for him, and a grown man choked him, so he ended up going to the box and they charged him the money I put in his account because he went to the box. So they took his money away from him, they put him in the box. He don't understand what's going on. He's supposed to be on medication. He hasn't had any medication since he's been in there. He's been in there for about 6-7 weeks now. So I don't really know, what to do about the situation. We got a lot of people. NAACP has been helping us. We have what's the other place down there? The Urban League has helped us. We have a lot of paperwork in place, but these folks are telling us that this could take up to 90 days. Now, in all reality, what no one up there on the stage has said yet, numerous nights I've watched my wife cry over my son. Numerous nights I've been worried about my son. And this stuff trickles down on the families and people that don't know how to cope. They go out of their mind and do things that may cause more problems for the families. And when we're reaching out for help from, this one and that one and that one, and we're not getting the help, then who's there to help us? Who's there to help my son? Like, my son has a real mental issue. He needs real help. And instead of them, finding a facility, they make us do all the legwork. We're Googling stuff and we're calling this and we're calling that. We're trying to get all this information for him. In the meantime, he's sitting in jail when the judge told us ourselves that he wants to keep our son safe because of the nature of his crime, and that's the only place that he can put him. And to be honest with you, I'm not satisfied with that at all. Like, I work very hard. I raise my kids to be good kids, and I don't think my son is a bad child, and I believe that he will have a chance if he was outside of there. Like my son's been in there 6 weeks, and he hasn't been getting no education whatsoever. And my son is a 11th grade student in Smart, and he hasn't seen a single teacher in weeks. You know, so I wanted to make it a point to come to this place just to hear what was going on and see what kind of help we could get from you guys and maybe throw some input in the air or whatever. But I really don't know what else to do.
Yeah, my man, and thank you for sharing. Obviously, I feel the pain of your wife too, man. No one should have to go through that. But definitely just talked to her. She said she's an attorney, and we work with the Giants, we work with the Vera Institute all the time, and they're constantly fighting these type of fights that you're mentioning right now. So please come up to us, get some more information. We're trying to give you more resources than what you already have.
God bless you. Thank you.
Bless you too. Like AB or anyone else with closing remarks, is that as amazing as the story is, it's like, this is, you know what I'm saying, I hear the same thing back in Houston. I hear the same thing in Jersey and every other city, you know, somebody's not getting the resources that they need, medication, sitting in jail even though they might be innocent, but because they can't afford bail, they have to sit there, you know, and they lose their job. Get kicked out of college and whatnot. Want more youth organizations so that the youth won't get in trouble. You know, these are all the same things I keep hearing even from the communities that I'm from. And when we talk about solutions, I'm glad you brought up solutions. That's one of the reasons why AB and myself even get involved when it comes to town halls like this and have conversations like this is because I'm tired of just talking about it. I want to use my voice as a platform and some of the things that it is a little different when, I'm a fan of the Giants, I'm a fan of you. No, I'm sitting here trying to make sure that you give them a fair sentence. And you apply that pressure. So that's some of the solutions that we can bring. We'd love to hear more from y'all and see what else can we do to apply pressure as well. But if there's anything else you want to add, AB?
Not really, man. You really hit everything on the head. And really, like I tell everybody else, I think it's really up to you guys. Like I was saying, like you really got to put pressure on your local government. You really have to. I think that's one of the main things that I always preach to people is that obviously New York guys did a great job coming out here tonight, but this has to be a continuous thing. Really got to band together and put pressure on your local government because obviously you guys are all the people that's fighting the battle. I think this is going on across the world and it's disgusting. But as far as that's part of the New York Giants organization, we're here because we want to help. So if there's anything that you guys have in mind that we can possibly use our platform to help you guys, I'm not saying that we'll be able to get everything done, but definitely this is the reason why we took this 3-hour trip to come up here and listen to you guys and really put out our
So we have one more speaker. His name is Micah. A round of applause, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Pereira, and I'm the president of the Broome County of the NAACP. And we've been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this for quite a long time. So I got a couple of things that Mary told me I'm supposed to tell you, and I'll tell you those first, and then I'll tell you what's on my mind. Keep time. All right. First of all, Mary said that there's food in the kitchen, so that should make some of you happy. Because I'm sure we've agitated some of you, and that is on purpose. Secondly, though, we talked about what can be done, and Citizen Action said that tomorrow at 8:45 in front of the City Hall, on Hawley Street, you can join them for Court Watch. Do something. You can join Citizen Action next Tuesday, May 14th, as they go to Albany for lobbying on the unfinished criminal justice reform, the parole reform. And you can sign up at their desk. Other things that you can do, you can join JUST. Sign up for the jail visiting program. Tony's been doing it for 25 years. I'm sure she would love some help. And maybe if you got out there and you saw for yourself what was really going on, you wouldn't have to wait for it on the news. You wouldn't have to say, oh my God, I can't believe it. You could be standing there telling somebody, yeah, that's really what's going on, and I can't believe this is going on, and it's still going on. And then the next time somebody tells you that they want your vote, you can tell them, hey, what about this? And they say, where did you hear that? You say, oh, I didn't hear it, I was there. All these organizations have sign-ups. My table's right there. Sign up. Join us. There are a lot of things that can be done. We do economic development. We help people get jobs. We help people find out where the jobs are. We help people get to the jobs. We do criminal justice. Tony is one of our members. She's the chair of that department. She tells us what's going on and where we need to focus our energies. We have people working on health issues and health access. And one of those things I'll speak to very quickly is a big guy like me walks into a doctor's office. One of the biggest issues that I have here is, as nice as you may think I am, if I walk in and I don't look happy, many of you are afraid of me. And I have not said a word to anybody. And that's just downright wrong. You don't know me. I came to the doctor's office because I need help. But yet I get treated on the basis of fear because of the way I look. We also work for education. Education, the pipeline. The pipeline is going down instead of going up. The pipeline that's not helping us, our children, to get to higher education, that's not helping them to fulfill their callings, but instead is pushing them into what I call another little group of slaves over there on the side that'll take the minimum wage jobs and all the little things that everybody else doesn't want to do, so that those that are in power right now can have the other positions. So my final question as my time runs out is, now what? Now what? We're all sitting around the church like a lot of us do on Sundays. And the message has been given. So now what? Are you going to go and sit with your friends and talk about, man, that was incredible. And I can't believe the preacher said that. And you know what? I really like that Bible verse, and go sit home and do nothing? No. Or are you going to get up, educate the rest of your community, agitate those that are in office, and make a serious change? Now what? If you want something to do very soon, Truth Farm will be in this building, I believe on the second floor, on Monday at 6 p.m. Come get some more education so you can find out what you can do. Now what is my question? They've traveled up here to see us. They've traveled up here to be with us. We've talked good talk. Now what? And maybe we need to say that to the people that are elected. Now what? We put you in the office. We trusted you with our vote. Now what? You're betraying us. Hey, guess what? I'm going to tell you now what. Your time is up. We're getting somebody else. Thank you very much.
Listen, thank everybody for coming out, the Giants players, everybody from all the organizations. We have some food in the back. We'd just like to feed you guys. Hopefully, the next event we have, you guys come out and show the support, and it keeps to get bigger, and really just take the fight to where it needs to be. And with the support from you guys, I'm pretty sure everybody will, accomplish the goal that they're setting out to accomplish. All right, so everybody have a good night. Once again, thanks for players.